Welcome to part 2 of this presentation on retirement age 65 and bypass pay. I would now like to move on to the work we've done with the company. I should start by saying that your association's goal is a fair deal on retirement age 65, which allows everyone to work to 65 on current terms, not just a fortunate few on the right base, and that any deal should include bypass pay or compensation for the loss of bypass pay. In the recent talks with the company, we compared various scenarios that might represent the future in terms of the number of captains past 55 and the amount of bypass pay that would be generated. Under current arrangements, all officers that express a desire to work past 55 are offered either check and training on the passenger fleet or a freighter position. Absent a fair deal on RA65, this will in all likelihood continue for several reasons. First of all, aircraft are ordered and there are short-term limits to training capacity, which are alleviated by retaining captains past 55. Secondly, there is the mounting legal pressure of age discrimination laws. Even now, the company is careful to say that all officers are offered extensions. Finally, there is a potential upturn in market conditions to keep the team together for. Certainly, the slightly desperate recruitment of ex-Oasis pilots at a time when fuel prices were rising strongly would indicate that there is a continuing need to retain officers past 55. This unfair extension system permits the company to control the number of officers extending on the passenger fleet to match their training requirement. What this means is that at some point officers working past 55 may only find freighter positions available. This scenario is depicted here, the large red area representing the majority past 55 on the freighter. As you can see, most officers end up on the freighter. Now, putting aside whether this scenario is fair or might even become illegal, it does provide a useful baseline. Note that under this scenario many pilots work past 55. Yes, the majority are on reduced terms. However, most of the seniority costs associated with an increase in retirement age is incurred. Captains, first officers, and second officers are all on higher pay points. We compared the cost of this baseline scenario with the cost of a fair deal on retirement age, which included full terms past 55 on the passenger fleet and full bypass pay. In this scenario, rather than most past 55 being confined to the freighter fleet, all are able to continue on the passenger fleet. While most of the seniority costs are incurred in both scenarios, there are increased costs associated with moving to a fair deal on RA65. First of all, bypass pay becomes payable for all those past 55, represented by this blue area. This graph compares the cost of bypass pay with the annual salary bill for pilots. Note that it does not go on forever, since eventually the last COS 99 first officer will be promoted. As you can see, the cost peaks at around 1%, but seems to average about 0.5% for around 10 years. The other source of cost is extra salary that is paid to lift extendees from freighter scales to passenger scales. This is shown in pink. This does build in an extra cost forever. That said, it must be likely that in this time frame, which looks out 10 years, age discrimination law will catch up with the practice of reducing the salaries of older pilots. As you can see, the cost of moving to full RA65 is between 1 and 1.5% of the annual salary bill for pilots. This is the cost associated with moving from the current half-baked, unfair system to a system that is fair for all. To your association, this seems a very reasonable cost. 1.5% would allow consistent and fair treatment for all our officers, not just the lucky few on the right base. 1.5% allows the payment of contractual bypass pay. 1.5% allows the company to fulfill its legal and moral obligations with regard to age discrimination, as well as living up to its own corporate code of conduct. It is of some concern to me that once again a large amount of work has been done with the company, including a shared analysis of costs, yet the company seems unwilling to deal reasonably based on the results of that analysis. For now, we remain some way apart, No doubt the current economic uncertainty does not help. The price of oil is a long way off its peak and fuel surcharges are falling, but the state of financial markets makes the next upturn difficult to call. Because of this, I have made it clear that we are willing to consider short-term workarounds, but that in the long run we believe the cost associated with fair RA65 is reasonable. Before I close, I must return to membership. At a recent meeting with management, over 60 second officers presented themselves to voice their concerns over second officer bypass pay. The large number of second officers had a real effect on the meeting, and the same goes for membership. Numbers do matter. Please find a non-member and explain to him that his non-membership damages his career and your career. Thank you for listening to this.